When I started this series, I planned to do 20 tutorials about CrusherX. Now that there are already 10, and even some motivating commands and reactions here on the KVR forum and elsewhere, I think it's a good reason to have some fun with CrusherX before continuing with tutorial number 11. I want to show you two setups, the first using 3 instances of CrusherX and the second using even 4 of them. I use them parallel, each applied to an individual mixer track. There is one and the same sequence routed to all 3, respectively 4, mixer tracks, and every of the 3, respectively 4, CrusherX instances is, of course, doing something else with this sequence. The examples show the routing in my DAW, FL Studio 12. You surely will know how to do the routing in your digital audio workstation. In the first example, the 3 instances work even in 3 different modes: auto, manual with a fixed content in the buffer, and manual with trigger on. Okay, we haven't talked about trigger in this serial yet. But all of them work with the same sequence. It's the sequence you've been hearing in the background for some minutes. Let's listen to the result before we talk about the details of the settings of each CrusherX. The shown automations may have to be done differently in your DAW. And please be patient, as there are partly small, but a lot of changes in the whole piece. It is quite long, 3 minutes and 3 seconds. The CrusherX in track 4 is responsible for the long and slowly developing atmosphere. Auto trigger is switched off, and an automated trigger impulse from the DAW at the beginning loads the sequence into the buffer. CrusherX scans through the sequence then, but extremely slowed down. The 6 seconds of sound in the buffer are played back at a rate of 0.01 Hz, which is 100 seconds per walkthrough. In other words, the real 6 seconds are stretched to 100 seconds. The length of the grains are 100 milliseconds and birth is 49 milliseconds, to make the sound smooth and without interruptions, as well as without modulations by the grain's loudness envelope. At least speed is adjusted at -2, meaning a pitch transposition of 1 octave up, but a reverse playback of every single grain, while the whole sequence is played back in original direction. Delay is modulated saw down. The CrusherX in track 2 is responsible for the rhythmical extracts from the sequence. Auto trigger is switched off, but the filling of the buffer is triggered at the beginning of every bar. CrusherX scans through the local part of the sequence then, but plays it back at a slightly accelerated speed of 1.4 times the original. A walkthrough frequency of 0.7 Hz means playing back the buffer's content of 2 seconds 7 times in 10 seconds, what is 1.4 times in 2 seconds. The pitch and the direction of playing back every single grain are as in the original sequence. The grain length is 100 milliseconds again, but birth is adjusted to 24 milliseconds to get a higher density. And at least track 3. The CrusherX here is responsible for the sound bubbles. Here, CrusherX is working in, let me say, live mode, meaning auto trigger is switched on and CrusherX gets the actual stream of sound from the sequencer. Nothing is frozen in the buffer. There are 4 generators, which are quite a lot out of phase. Length and birth both are quite short and both change synchronous to the scanning through the sequence of CrusherX of track 2, 0.7 Hz. But the amounts of changing are different, so that the grains sometimes overlap and sometimes don't. The pitch of the grains changes as well, but slightly out of timing. The frequency of the pitch change is 0.6 Hz. The second example is based on another principle. All 4 instances of CrusherX are triggered by the beat of the DAW with auto switched off. But they are triggered in cascades. One CrusherX is triggered every first beat of a bar, so once per bar. The next one is triggered every first and third beat of a bar, so twice per bar. The third one is triggered every beat of a bar, so 4 times a bar. And the fourth one is triggered every half beat of a bar, so 8 times a bar. All 4 play the buffer in the original speed of the sequence. But they play the individual grains in different pitches and different directions. 2 of the instances of CrusherX play the grains forward, the other 2 backwards. And there are even modulations of the pitch, as you see on the screenshots. The modulations of 3 of the crushers are synced to the host. The modulation of CrusherX T6, number 4, run free. All right. End of playing around. The next tutorial is going to be serious work again. I hope to see you then. Bye.